Tonight, the Hall of Fame game was scheduled to kick off between the Colts and Packers in Canton, Ohio, celebrating a new class in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But the field got in the way. KMIR's Julie Buehler has more.
Well, the very place fans sat for Saturday's ceremonies was deemed too slick and hard to play on, so the game was canceled. But for many fans, that hardly diminishes the weekend. Canton, Ohio is where pro football was born, so every year fans sojourn to the small town an hour outside of Cleveland to get a look at the game's history. Well, this year, a few men who laid fresh ink in record books, they were honored, and for good reason. But for some reason, we're still waiting to hear the name of a very special local man.
Former Raiders head coach Tom Flores is a desert resident and an NFL pioneer. He won Super Bowls as a player and assistant coach, then took over the Oakland Raiders in 1979, and in his second year as the head man, led a wild card team to a Super Bowl victory. And that was the first time that it ever happened. And in doing so, well, he became the first Hispanic head coach to win a Super Bowl. Now, that was in 1980, but he wasn't done. For the 1982 season, the Raiders moved to Los Angeles. All Flores did was follow up with another Super Bowl win that following season. In total, Flores has 4 Super Bowl rings. He's the only person in NFL history to win a ring as a player and then multiple rings as a head coach. In fact, in 9 seasons as the Raiders head coach, he had only 2 losing records. Now, in contrast, the current Raiders haven't had a winning record in more than a decade. And as the Raiders head coach, he won more than 60% of his games. So why isn't Flores in the NFL Hall of Fame? How can this glaring oversight continue? Well, the answer may be complicated as the selection process is highly subjective. Could it be a generational gap? Reality is there's not a single player on LA's current team, the Rams, that was even alive when Flores and the Raiders won the only Super Bowl for the city. Or perhaps it's the perceived anti-Raider bias that the NFL has reportedly held on to for years due to long legal battles with former Raider owner Al Davis. But at some point, the NFL has to get it right. This year, it made strides. The first African-American head coach to win a Super Bowl, Tony Dungy, he was inducted. And hopefully next year, the first Hispanic head coach to win the Super Bowl. The first man to lead an unlikely wildcard team to hoisting a Lombardi, and the only man to find such immense success as a player and a head coach, he should be inducted as well.
And certainly the inductions that included NFL legend Brett Favre, former 49ers owner Eddie DeBartolo Jr., and greats from the Steelers, Colts, Rams, and more, well, they were all well earned. But it's time the NFL looks at our local resident, Coach Tom Flores, and puts him in his rightful place as a true pioneer in NFL history. And speaking of history,
for the first time in the 87-year PGA Tour history, hundreds of thousands of rounds of professional golf, and Jim Furyk stands out as the only man to ever card a 58. He carded 10 birdies and an eagle, and actually his try for a 57 on the 18th hole ran by the cup, leaving him with a tap-in for a 58. Now, the PGA Tour has seen 6 59s before, including one by Furyk at the BMW Championship in 2013. And from one of the funkiest swings in golf to one of the prettiest swings in all of baseball, happy birthday to the game's best player. Angels center fielder Mike Trout turned 25 Sunday. He has more home runs at this age than all-time home run leader Barry Bonds had at 25. He might be number 27 in your program, but he's number 1 in this girl's heart.
And that's not all. There's more baseball news to come. Back to you.
That's right. Thanks, Julie. The New York Yankees' Alex Rodriguez, or A-Rod, is calling it a career. His last game with the Yankees will be Friday. Today, Rodriguez made the announcement heavy with emotion.
I never thought I can play for 22 years. At 18, I just wanted to make the team.